You feel shock, fear, confusion. You look around. Other people see it too. No one moves. You also do nothing. I should have done something. Did I do something wrong, or did I just not do anything? We often condemn active wrongdoers, but what about the people who stand by and watch? Our question: are bystanders morally responsible when they fail to intervene? Or is inaction morally neutral if they didn't cause the harm themselves? Doing harm versus allowing harm. A classic distinction: doing harm, actively causing injury or injustice. Allowing harm, not stopping something bad that you could have prevented. Many people feel doing harm is clearly wrong. Allowing harm is more complicated. Pushing someone into a river, clearly your fault. Watching someone drown in shallow water when you could easily save them. Did you do something wrong? If you could have helped easily and safely and you didn't, then yes, you share some responsibility. So the bystander question is really about how far our duty to help goes. 2. When does failing to help become wrong? We can start from an intuitive principle. If you can prevent serious harm to someone at small risk or cost to yourself, then you have a moral obligation to do so. For example, calling emergency services when you see an accident, saying stop, or changing the subject when someone is being verbally bullied and you're in a relatively safe situation. Quietly checking on a person who seems in visible distress. If you don't do anything in these cases, many people would say, you are not just a neutral extra in the story. You have failed in a moral duty. So yes, sometimes, bystanders are morally responsible for their inaction. But the details matter a lot: risk, knowledge, ability, and context. 3. Reasons bystanders fail to intervene. Before we judge, we must understand. Psychology shows phenomena like diffusion of responsibility. Someone else will step in. Pluralistic ignorance. No one else seems alarmed. Maybe it's not that serious. Fear of embarrassment. What if I misread the situation? Fear of retaliation. What if they turn on me? Freezing. Shock, confusion, or paralysis in the moment. These don't necessarily excuse inaction, but they explain why even decent people sometimes do nothing. So the moral question becomes, to what extent should people overcome these barriers? And when is failing to overcome them morally blameworthy? 4. Factors that affect bystander responsibility. We can think of responsibility as depending on several factors. How clear is the situation? Obvious violent attack versus ambiguous argument. If you're not sure what's happening, your duty might be weaker, but you can still do something, like observing more, asking a question, calling help. How serious is the harm? Mild rudeness versus serious bullying, assault, or life-threatening danger. The greater the potential harm, the stronger the duty to act. How much risk or cost to you? Low risk. Calling police, filming from a distance, speaking up in a safe setting. High risk. Physically intervening in a violent attack when you are likely to be harmed. As risk increases, the duty to intervene physically decreases. What power or role do you have? A teacher in a classroom, a manager in a meeting, security staff at an event have greater responsibilities than a random passerby. Are you the only one who can act? If you are the only witness, your responsibility is much stronger than if many others can act more effectively. These factors help us avoid a simplistic, always guilty, or never guilty answer. 5. The case for bystander responsibility. Why say bystanders are morally responsible? 5.1. Basic duty of rescue. Many moral theories accept this. You have at least a minimal duty to rescue others when you can do so safely and easily. Examples: calling emergency services, asking, "Are you okay?" creating a distraction, getting help from others. Not doing even this minimum shows a failure of compassion, solidarity, basic human decency. 5.2. Social norms and culture. When bystanders stay silent, they send a message. This is acceptable. Or at least, it's not important enough to act. Bystander inaction reinforces the abuser's power, makes victims feel isolated and abandoned, normalizes harmful behavior. So, to some extent, we collectively shape what is tolerated. When many people silently allow an injustice, they share responsibility for its continuation. On the other hand, we must avoid unfairly loading all guilt onto those who didn't cause the harm. The person who initiates the harm, the bully, attacker, abuser, harasser, bears primary responsibility. Bystanders have secondary responsibility, which varies in strength. We should not confuse "you failed to help" with "you are just as guilty as the aggressor." Those are not the same. In some situations, intervening directly may put you in serious danger. Violent assaults, armed situations, hate crimes with groups involved. It may be unreasonable to demand, "you must risk your life to intervene physically." However, even in such cases, there may be safer ways to act. Call emergency services. Record evidence. Help the victim after the incident. Alert someone with more authority. So the duty might shift from direct confrontation to indirect but meaningful action. We can distinguish three broad types. The silent bystander sees what is happening, does nothing, and later feels guilty or just moves on. The complicit bystander laughs along with the bully, cheers the aggressor, or shames the victim afterwards. This is no longer passive, it's supporting the harm. The active bystander acts in some way to reduce harm, intervenes directly, if safe, distracts, gathers others, calls for help, supports the victim later. Our moral assessment: complicit bystanders share strong responsibility. Silent bystanders share some responsibility when they could have helped. Active bystanders are often quietly heroic. If we accept that bystanders carry some moral responsibility, the next step is, how do we help people be better bystanders? Key ideas. Teach simple strategies. The 4D approaches. Direct, speak up if safe, distract, change the subject or create a diversion. Delegate, get someone else, teacher, security, manager. Delay, check in with the victim later and offer support. Normalize intervention. If we grow up hearing that good people don't look away, more of us may act. Reduce fear of embarrassment. We should emphasize it's better to risk a small social awkwardness than to watch someone be harmed. Support those who try. Others should support, not ridicule them, even if the intervention isn't perfect. This is where philosophy meets education and culture. We can't demand perfection, but we can encourage better habits. 9. A nuanced answer for your listeners. So, are bystanders morally responsible when they fail to intervene? You might answer, in many situations, yes. Bystanders do bear some moral responsibility when they fail to act, especially when the harm is serious, the situation is fairly clear, they have a safe and simple way to help or get help. However, we should not equate bystanders with the original wrongdoer, nor ignore the real fear, confusion, and social pressures that can paralyze people. A balanced view. The primary blame lies with the person doing the harm. But bystanders are not morally invisible. They share some responsibility if they could reasonably have helped and chose not to. Our aim should not be to drown bystanders in guilt, but to transform bystanders into active allies. People who know that doing nothing is not morally neutral. You can close with reflection questions. Think of a time you saw something wrong. What stopped you from intervening? What is one small, concrete way you could act differently next time? Who in your world is most at risk of being harmed while others look away, and what could you do to make that less likely?